We gon' blow your mind.
Hello everyone, welcome to a WWE pay-per-view review here from the CC Network. I'm Fred, your ever-reliable host as always, and today we're looking at the weekend's 2017 Royal Rumble pay-per-view held in the Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas, with over 50,000 people being crammed into this magnificent venue, hoping to witness history once again, like they did in 1997, some 20 years prior at the Royal Rumble. Now, all in all, this card on paper didn't look the most appealing, but as we do know, looks can be quite deceiving. Let's see though if this pay-per-view that scored 6 out of 10 in last year's edition can better itself, and considering what could happen on this loaded card, well, it has the potential to surprise in quite a few ways. We started off the night with 3 pre-show matches, with Naomi getting one over on Alexa Bliss in the 6-women tag match, Nia Jax pummeling Sasha Banks into another lifetime, and surprisingly, albeit with a handful of tights, Gallows and Anderson finally got one over on Sheamus and Cesaro to win the Raw Tag Team Championships. Now, while they were all decent matches, if you don't know how my pay-per-view reviews work, I don't factor in the pre-show matches. Then again, it's been over a year, under a year, since I last did a current pay-per-view review, so some of you may have actually forgotten that. Well, there you go, that's a good sum up. And the fact is, because it's 2017 and it's a brand new year, these pay-per-view reviews are coming back with a bang. So let's kick things into gear and let's get on with the main card of this show, because there's a lot of juicy tidbits to get into. We kick things off with the Raw Women's Championship match, as the incumbent champion Charlotte overcame a resilient Bayley to retain the title in 13 minutes and 3 seconds. Now, this match was a lot better than I expected it to be. And the thing is, I love Bayley. I really do. I marked out for her massively at TakeOver London a year or so ago. But her ability in the ring is only as good as her opponent. She can carry a match and sell it beautifully without a good opponent to match her. She can look pretty woeful. Look at the Dana Brooke match from Hell in a Cell last year, if you don't believe that statement to be true. Now, Charlotte played her role as the imperious heel, looking down on her opponent while also systematically just dissecting her, while Bayley fought back as best as she could, trying to give the champion a run for her money, as Charlotte wore her head and legs down for her specific finishing maneuvers. And no matter what Bayley did though, Charlotte overpowered her, and it was just a question of whether Bayley could match up story-wise. She did, in my opinion, because she showed good heart and fortitude, but Charlotte still looked great in the process. And the crowd, they were hot to begin with, but steadily declining in volume as Charlotte dominated proceedings, coming alive for Bayley's near falls and attempts to get out of submissions, which brought them to their feet with a lot of vigour towards its conclusion. The match lasted just long enough, but the pace fluctuated between too slow and too quick, really too fast, with a lot of momentum shifting more frequently than it needed to happen later on in the match, stifling its flow a bit and making it feel a little disjointed. They wanted to make Bayley look strong with a good recovery, but it ruined how the match was going, in my opinion, and it just didn't feel very good. However, the sudden finish with a natural selection on the apron was a lovely spot to stop that right in its tracks, and it also complemented a twisting facebuster that Bayley did, as well as a hair pull slam neck breaker combo, which is lovely. So at least the match had a small amount of flourish move-wise. Overall, though, it wasn't up to par with Charlotte and Sasha's battles over the last year, but I'll say this, for an initiation to highlight Bayley on a big stage, it did its job, but without a lot of body selling and that fluctuating pace that ruined it at times, it was certainly not much to really shout about. However, it was definitely no slouch, and it was a fun little thing to kick off the show. It was a respectable match, and it just missed the 3-star mark, in my opinion. It had enough going on to keep me invested, there was enough story going on to make me think, okay, they know what they're doing, but overall it just needed a more good structure for the pacing. Otherwise, this could have been a 3-star match, but it is a 2 3/4 star match, which is not a bad consolation prize if you put things together. And it shows Raw's women know what they're doing when it comes to consistent quality pay-per-view matches. All I've got to hope now is that SmackDown's women can do the same, because seriously, Charlotte and her friends are putting them to shame in recent times. Come on, Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks, I'm looking for you to improve. Surprisingly, next, we had the Universal title match with Chris Jericho suspended above the ring in a shark cage. We're against the odds again. Kevin Owens managed to defeat Roman Reigns in a no DQ match to retain the title thanks to help from Braun Strowman, of all people, after 23 minutes and 28 seconds of pulsating action. Now, I was fully expecting this match to be a formulaic but intense bout that showcased Roman Reigns as the man and make Owens look, well, quite pitiful considering how he could barely walk out of every title match without some form of assistance to help keep the title on him. But thankfully, they booked this match very well to ensure that despite the bizarre run-in from Strowman, which we still don't know much of a reason behind, both men looked great. Reigns used his desire to win and his power game to give Owens the fight for his life, while the champion utilised pretty much everything around and inside the ring to his advantage to wear the big dog down, and took risks that ultimately for the most part went against him as he desperately tried to keep Reigns out for the count. Hell, I'll say this, even Reigns managed to sell his ribs for a brief period of time. Well, despite having a chest protector which neutralises all psychology storytelling on that chest, which makes the chair shot... You get the point if you saw the match. That chair shot, Jesus. As Owens, well, he also showed his fortitude by kicking out of just about everything that Roman threw at him, showing that, hey, this guy can fight against Roman and do well. There were some solid spots as Owens frog splashed Reigns through a table, Reigns powerbombed Owens through the announce table, he hit a Samoan drop through a steel chair, he knocked Owens off that top rope through that intricate pile of chairs, Owens hit a brass knuckles Superman punch, which was lovely, and of course we have Strowman's front power slam through the corner table. We have not seen that done, so it's lovely to see. This match was exciting, action-packed, and the crowd loved it. And, well, despite Jericho's placing, he still managed to make his importance on the match work. He passed down the brass knuckles, obviously, and of course... Though Owens, well, he couldn't and didn't need to do this, but gesticulating to Jericho and saying, "This is for you," and saying, "Don't worry, I'll help you," frequently allowed the momentum of this match to switch easily without really losing much pace, which is nice. However, it's where this match does lose marks if you look at the rating factors I've got on the screen here. The pace of this match, while being quick, I feel was a little too quick for too long, because as this match wore on, the spots escalated in size, and overall, I didn't like the fact that they were too fast to get up from these spots. It frustrated me, it made me feel annoyed that Roman was getting up way too fast from stuff he should not have done, and like I said with the chest protector, he wasn't selling enough. Kevin Owens is a master of selling that ridiculously exhausted, worn-out look. Roman doesn't really have that ability, and it made me feel like this match wasn't really doing its job, because seriously, the guy didn't sell enough for that beating to be taken seriously. I will say, though, he did a better job of it than he did inside the Hell in a Cell against Rusev, so I can at least find positives in that. God damn, but all in all, ladies and gentlemen, this was quite a fun match that allowed Roman and Kevin to look strong, even with a slight bit of overbooking, making it look slightly comical at times. It was a match to settle the score between these two, and unlike their prior encounters, was ramped up to 11 to ensure it didn't feel lackluster. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but honestly, I had so much fun with this. I'm going to give it a 4-star rating. The story built up really nicely, the crowd were really into it, I was really into it, and the length at least helped out, as did the variety of weapon usages and moves. It all worked out nicely, and it made this match exceed my expectations. And the no DQ stipulation definitely helped with that, as without it, this match would not have achieved the rating. Seriously. And it was the surprise of the night for sure, as these two knocked the ball straight out of the park and 6 bells out of each other to ensure that it worked. And I couldn't be happier in spite of this match's faults. So after that, we need to calm down, and what better way to do it than some Cruiserweight Championship action, right? As Neville finally gets to call himself the king of the Cruiserweights legitimately this time, after defeating the incumbent champion Rich Swann in 13 minutes and 31 seconds. Not a bad length for a Cruiserweight title bout, I've got to say. Now, Before we get into this, I have to mention it. The build-up package beforehand. I love that it was given a build-up package because the women's title match wasn't for certain. I do want to point this out though. Did they have to do the whole feud from beginning to end, filling in all the gaps for storyline of the characters knowing each other and all that jazz? Because it basically said to me that WWE creative, the bookers, the people in the back, they had a feeling that the fans do not watch 205 Live. They have no interest in the Cruiserweights, as noted by the reaction they get on Raw and 205 Live each week. They thought to themselves, okay, you guys don't watch, but we need you to know everything that happens here to make what happens in the match make sense. Do the crowd actually care though? Because they had such antipathy to this match and this entire thing that it fell on deaf ears. Seriously, and the Cruiserweight division on pay-per-view still hasn't been able to match the Perkins-Kendrick first match that happened back at Clash of Champions in terms of quality and general match ability. It was overall a bit of a disappointment to see this match didn't really live up to expectations. But then again, that's mostly down to the crowd. They did not care. And what happened in this match that was actually pretty good got lost because of it. Neville's tough offense through the psychology on Swan and his resilience to fight back against this guy who he thought he was his friend, but he's actually a bastard. And these guys are using everything they could in the book to wear their opponent down, and just, it did its job in showing that Swan had the ability to get back, but he just couldn't fight against a much more powerful opponent. And that worked brilliantly through the methodical approach that Neville had, and it was great. And the moves they did in a term were not bad either. The super kick counter was lovely, that actually hit on the button. The stiff kicks were lovely as well, and the middle rope Phoenix splash to the outside. And the pace wasn't too bad in its own right, but the thing is, I found enjoyment in this match. But I can see why the crowd weren't into it. Firstly, even though Neville is over as hell as a heel right now, they don't care about Rich Swann too much. They don't care about the Cruiserweights too much. And also, I feel as a Cruiserweight match, you'd expect it to be faster. I always say that they need to have a match at the beginning of a show and the opener of a show that is fast, furious, yet aggressive as hell to ensure psychology can come through to kick the night off. The women didn't really do that, and these guys are the slowdown after a furiously ridiculous title match, so they weren't going to be given the spot to do that. And I feel that the pace ruined this a bit, even though it worked for story. Even though it made a lot of sense for Neville to wear down Swan methodically. That I loved because it made sense, but it hurt the match's pace. And if the match wasn't quick enough, with enough big moves, especially from Neville, who is scaling back his flips a little, apart from a few intermittent areas, the crowd had no reason to care. So by the time Swan came in, it fell even more flat. And the fact is, the pace fluctuated, momentum shifted so much in this over periods that I just couldn't find myself getting into the flow of this match at times. And it didn't feel like it was good to have it basically go from a slow, methodical beatdown into a flippy shitfest next. And it just didn't feel natural, especially considering that Swan got beaten down for most of it. I felt overall this match did some good things. I liked the moves, I liked the psychology. I personally enjoyed it enough to give it a 2 on the enjoyment scale. The fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, this match could have been really good if the fans gave a crap. If the fans gave a crap and acknowledged the good qualities that this match had, we could have had at least a 2-star, 2.5-star, possibly a 3-star. This was 13 minutes of solid storytelling, and I'll give them credit where it's due for it. But there were problems of this match mostly stemming from 50,000 deaf people who couldn't speak, not really making this match feel like the big occasion it was. Neville won the belt, sure, but it didn't feel like the coronation of a king. It felt like the inauguration of a really horrible president. Oh shit, that's already happened. Nonetheless, this match did its job, but it didn't have a lot of stable ground to work on, and I will give it 1.5 stars as a result. This bout could have been good. Could have been good. It had the setup to work with, it had good moments in it, but It just needed a stable foundation and a good crowd to work with it, and it could have been great. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case, and that atmosphere, Jesus Christ, it needed more. Then again, on the positive side, it was the best cruiserweight pay-per-view match I've seen from the brand in a while. Unfortunately, that doesn't really say much, does it? Next, we get to the big match. The match that everybody and their mother was looking forward to. The WWE Championship match, where John Cena defeated reigning champ AJ Styles in 24 minutes and 7 seconds, not only to secure his first world title since 2014, but equal Ric Flair's 16 title reigns as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how to put this. Do I really need to explain how good this match was? Do I? No, I don't. It was a superb showcase of two wrestlers at the top of their game, delivering an intense and athletically stunning bout that wowed all in attendance and those at home. It went a good distance, at a great pace, had momentum shifting on a dime as both men reversed and locked in each other's moves with sublime ease, as these two giants used the knowledge of each other to dictate this match into something absolutely fantastic. It was hold and counter hold, reversals everywhere. These two knew each other so well from prior bouts that it built the drama. You couldn't tell who was going to win this thing, and it was brilliant, as Cena and Styles laid their best on the line to show how good they really are, and just how much both men wanted it. Styles wanted to beat Cena again to prove the first time, or second time, wasn't the one-off, that Cena has having an off day, and Cena wanted to win that 16th title. It was incredible. Cena did great. Styles was his ever fantastic self, despite being on the losing side. The crowd were into it from bell to bell, with every near fall showing more testicular fortitude from both these men unseen from before, as they battled through this test of unbelievable endurance. And it was by far, God, the best match of the night, and it was an exhausting and thrilling contest that it just has to be seen, okay? All in all, in my opinion, personally, it was better than the SummerSlam match. I gave 4 3/4 stars to that. And this match may have had less moves on the move variety scale, but my God, as you can see, it got 5s everywhere else. This means, ladies and gentlemen, it's a 5-star match. There is no question about it. This is a 5-star classic, and it is brilliant. Now, I know a lot of people are going to compare this to Okada and Omega from Wrestle Kingdom 11. I understand that. And while many are correct in saying that Omega vs. Okada was performed on a level of physical intensity that has not been seen by mortal eyes before and or since, this match was done in half the time and still packed in all the drama that a Match of the Year candidate would have. And honestly, this is the standard bearer. WWE wanted to match Okada-Omega, and I feel, even though the intensity of it, due to the doubling of the length and the drama that came from it, Omega and Okada may slightly be ahead, but hey, I am a WWE reviewer, so I've got to say it right now. This, for me, is on par with New Japan's masterpiece, even if New Japan's masterpiece is slightly better. Overall, for WWE, this is pretty bloody fantastic, and WWE have put their best hand forward to start 2017 off with a massive bang, and I wouldn't be surprised if I don't see a better match in World Wrestling Entertainment at all this year, and we still have WrestleMania to come, folks. So we could see more 5-star matches, we may not. I think customarily I've had a 5-star match every year since 2014 at least once, so I can say maybe we aren't going to see another 5-star, but this is a match you have to see. If you have not seen it, go subscribe to the network and watch it. Don't go on a crappy stream, watch it properly in H-bloody-D. So you can see two of America's all-time greatest wrestlers in the modern era put on a clinic. It is well worth the time and you will love it, I swear. Finally, we reach the main event, the eponymous Royal Rumble match, where for the first time in 6 years, I have not gotten the prediction of this match correct. Yes, every year I pick 5 potential winners just to cover my bases. Every single year I've done this. And for the first time ever, I have not gotten it. Crazy. I know, it's insane. Do you know who did manage to win? It wasn't Braun Strowman, The Undertaker, The Miz, Chris Jericho, Sami Zayn. They were my picks. It was Randy Orton. He got the win, last eliminating Roman Reigns, we'll get to him in a bit, to gain the main event opportunity at WrestleMania 33 and his second Rumble win after 21 minutes in the match on his own, of course, with the bout itself lasting 1 hour, 2 minutes and 6 seconds overall. Now, going against the popular internet consensus, I enjoyed this Rumble match. For me, it was thoroughly entertaining, and it paced itself well, it got the crowd invested for pretty much the entirety, even though it wasn't the most positive. Of course, we had Strowman dominating early on, destroying many while having to overcome many trying to throw him out as the ring got more congested. His elimination of Big Show was a massive moment, while his surprise elimination by Corbin produced one of the biggest shocks of the whole damn match. And the whole scenario surrounding Sami Zayn was addressed appropriately, and I love the fact the underdog from the underground proved his steel by lasting a lot longer than his burly rival. Although Strowman did eliminate 7 people, so he technically wins his power game in the end? I guess. Anyway, James Ellsworth and his whole stick was fun comedic relief, especially when Ambrose came out there and tricked him. That was lovely. We also got Ty Dillinger coming in, which was expected, but that crowd reaction was entirely worth it, because if they didn't have Perfect 10 come out at number 10, well, lo and behold, they would have missed a golden opportunity. But thankfully, they did it. Not to mention, there was also Jack Gallagher in there. I wasn't expecting that. But was he really a surprise? Oh, I'll give it to you. It was pretty much a surprise. And his work with the Umbrella and Jericho was just funny, and I love me some Jack Gallagher as a fellow Brit, of course, and having seen him on the indie scene a few times, the guy is fantastic. And honestly, it started off a train reaction for Jericho, which means he got hit with every big move under the sun, which means he spent most of the match outside, showcasing how dastardly and sneaky he can be. Lo and behold, nonetheless. Now, eliminations came and went slightly infrequently, but it held a steady, slow-paced and slow-burning match with some action happening in between to keep the crowd on edge. And the 2003 Royal Rumble is coming up in March's Friday Flashback, and I watched that not long ago. I will tell you right now, that match had the same idea to build the match up for bigger names, but they had literally nothing happen. No eliminations, no nothing. No storyline interweaving. So the fact that this match at least rectified that issue on the pace front was worth it. I can live with that, and it was perfectly fine. And honestly, it was worth it. Kofi Kingston saved himself by taking a mighty whack on his chest from the LED ring post. While not exciting as previous years, was still quite intense to see. Sheamus and Cesaro eliminated the New Day altogether, only to be eliminated themselves thanks to Jericho, which furthers their rivalry after they lost the titles. And of course, Xavier Woods bumped into Bray Wyatt, because that feud was hilariously fun, and I loved that fact that they called back to it. You can't go wrong. Speaking of the Wyatts, though, Luke Harper turned on his family and nearly gave a Sister Abigail to Bray. Oh my god, I cannot wait to see that going forward. And Randy Orton technically helped out, which means he's still involved with this stuff. Lo and behold, and the fans loved that Sister Abigail tease, by the way. Good god. Now, as the ring went on towards its conclusion and this match trailed on, there were 13 people in the ring at the height of it. And they were saving the end of the match for Taker, for Goldberg, and for Lesnar. When they came into the fold, they dispatched people, thankfully, quite slowly, because they didn't want to repeat the Big Show Kane binge that happened 2 years ago, which means the current roster looked strong in that it took a lot to eliminate a lot of them. This was a good tactic, a good piece of booking, to ensure that the young talent were not usurped by part-timers who were much bigger in terms of stature and strength than they were. I quite enjoyed this. Lesnar and Goldberg, of course, they stared down. Goldberg eliminated him quickly. Goldberg then faced Taker down for the first time and came out for worse as he was thrown out. And now we reach the number 30 spot. Now, I know I mentioned already we have Gallagher, we have Ty Dillinger. Who could number 30 be? And many people were thinking it could be a massive name of an Angle, a Joe, a Balor, or even a Nakamura, despite the fact he injured his bloody leg. Overall, a lot of us were not expecting Roman Reigns. And this crowd turned on the match so fast. God damn, even I did. Because I'm thinking, no way. You are not giving the Rumble match to Reigns. That is ridiculous. Especially considering he didn't sell the beating he took earlier in the night. So it felt utterly forced and utterly rubbish. And the crowd were chanting this is bullshit as he eliminated All in Sight, which was good for the elimination rate. We needed it. He also took out The Undertaker, which is quite epic, but it did not help the crowd in believing the inevitable was going to happen, that Roman was going to win the damn Rumble. But thankfully we had Randy Orton coming in to save the day with an RKO and throwing the big dog out to win this thing, and the crowd loved it. Was it more the fact they didn't like the fact that Roman Reigns was going to win and that was the only reason they cheered Orton, or are they really going to get behind Orton splitting from the Wyatts going ahead? I don't really know, but all in all, the pace of the match was sapped a little at the end there, because it was slow burning and we're going to have a big victorious run and a few guys slugging it out to finish. We didn't really have that because Reigns cleaned house, and I feel that while this match was very fun, that pacing in the conclusion was just not good, and I felt you could have put this match on at least 8 minutes more. Make the last part of the Rumble feel like an absolute endurance test. Make it feel like these guys have to work for it, and a few did. Jericho went over an hour, but he did spend most of it on the floor. Overall, I feel a little bit aggrieved by this. I wanted the bigger stars in this match to feel like they could establish themselves and feel like they wanted to fight for this. They weren't around for longer than 5 minutes each, at least, and it was quite disappointing. And the elimination rate? Oh, that was pitiful. I know they were trying to build up the stars and make them look credible, I understand that, but for the love of God, it just didn't work. I feel they needed to have a few more eliminations more frequently just to build the pace up a little, just to make it work out. But some bigger stars, especially in the case of Lesnar, Taker and all the rest, were too late in for me to really care at the end of the day. But hey, at least they didn't win this thing, right? I predicted Taker, but meh. And the surprise entrance. I've already mentioned how disappointing having Dillinger and Gallagher. I mean, you could consider Ellsworth as a surprise. I knew he was going to be in there. That was logical. I had a feeling Enzo was as well. I had a feeling Cruz would be in there to pad it out. Sure, a lot of names were unannounced, but I predicted it was going to be more modern-day roster members to show how deep the rosters are. And that's good. I like that. But the surprise entrance is what people watch the Rumble for. Then again, I will say this. If you like watching the Rumble for surprise entrances and big returns, this wasn't the Rumble for you. However, if you like seeing storyline progressions, really shock eliminations that mess with the status quo, and defining moments for wrestlers who needed them, you got more than enough here. It may not be the most perfect Rumble match, it will never be, but it was certainly one of the most fun I've ever sit through. It helps, really, because this match had enough going on, enough excitement for me to care. It was really fun. There was a lot of comedy moments, a lot of tension, a lot of good names staying a lot longer than I thought, shock eliminations all over the place, and a winner that I didn't see coming. All I can say is even though the surprise entrance and elimination rate and a bit of the pacing and length lower this a little, this is still a 3 3/4 star match, and it wasn't as good as last year's 4.5 star Rumble in building tension and had the shock arrivals, and it was paced nigh on to perfection. But still, this one was worth the hype in ensuring that the wrestlers of today had a place on the card and they looked good doing it. And that this main event spot at Mania was actually worth fighting for. It wasn't going to be taken by part bloody timers. It was worth it. And even Orton winning sits well with me because the possibilities of what SmackDown will give us in the next 2 or 3 months, I am looking forward to that. Although, I don't want to see Cena versus Orton again. You got that, Vince? I saw it enough in the late to early 2010s. I don't want to see any more of it, please. However, if they go with Wyatt Orton, I'll accept it with a heartbeat, and I will take forward to seeing WrestleMania in a good light from there. Now, on to my final thoughts for this show. I look back on the Royal Rumble event last year, which had 2 great 4-star plus matches, supplementing a pretty below par mid-card, and to showcase that this card was a very balanced one. I thought the same happened this year, but in a slightly better scale. The matches and the quality we got was definitely better than what we had last year, and I am very happy with that. The Cruiserweight match was of course the worst match on the card, but when it was the only match on it to get below 2.5 stars, that's a pretty good thing to see. The Rumble match nearly broke 4-star, a title match did get 4-star, and then the other title match was a 5-star match of the year. This event showcased the in-ring quality of WWE right now, with polished performers and good storylines being sewn into place as we build up towards WrestleMania in April. And I found enjoyment in pretty much everything, even with some of the matches being let down by some really bad crowd, and in some cases just poor decision making in terms of pacing and some aspects of the booking. Overall, I've got to say, even at the lowest end, this was a Rumble pay-per-view that still felt important, and it left me quite impressed with just how much stellar and exciting wrestling can be packed onto a 5-match card. And yes, we already had 3 matches before this card, but when I look at the main show as a standalone entity, this Rumble pay-per-view lived up to the hype in delivering its 3 big title matches with superb consistency, and the undercard title matches did their job, which is what all I ask for, to make this event actually feel like it's worth its weight. This, ladies and gentlemen, was the best Royal Rumble pay-per-view that I've seen in a long time, and as a result, it kicks off the year in quite a sublime way indeed. We ended 2016 with Roadblock and TLC being quite horrible, below 4 out of 10 and 3.5 out of 10 respectively, but I'm happy to say that this Rumble has delivered on its promise with a supercharged kick up the arse to show that in 2017, WWE means business. Now, I went into this event wanting to be entertained, excited and enthralled, and for the most part, I'll say this, I got what I bloody asked for. Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2017 Royal Rumble pay-per-view gets a great, in fact, nigh on sublime rating of 7.75 out of 10. This could have easily been an 8 if the Cruiserweight and Women's matches scored 2 and 3 stars respectively. This could have easily gone into an 8 out of 10 category. Sadly, it wasn't meant to be, but still, the tagline stood up. WWE wanted us to remember the Rumble. Well, thankfully, I certainly will. Because much like the amazing theme song highlighted, they said that they were going to blow our minds. Well, I'm happy to say, again, in my humble opinion, they did, to the near best of their ability. At least on this day, anyway. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Royal Rumble 2017 review is done. It's good to do these current pay-per-view reviews again, and I've come back to this with a bang. What a Rumble! But I know some of you may be thinking that I'm a little bit over-exuberant because one Samoan ruined everything and a Viper struck his bite a little too much. Nonetheless, though, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of this show? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Did you feel it was worse? God, I think I know a lot of you will. All in all, you can put your opinions down there in the comments section if you want to keep supporting this channel and look forward to the Friday flashback reviews of old pay-per-views and the upcoming review of Elimination Chamber in just 2 weeks' time that is coming directly from this channel. All you have to do is click that like button down there and the subscribe button if you want to keep up with everything. Not to mention, if you want to know what's coming up in the future, because there's going to be no video schedule thing that I'm doing, go to Twitter at CCNetworkYT to keep an eye out on all the things that are happening with this channel in the months going forward. And I'm also really happy to say this is the first month in my new schedule and uploading and production that I've actually gotten everything in a month out on time as I wanted, and I feel superb for doing it. And ladies and gentlemen, let's hope the first month of 2017 as it ends can continue consistency from the channel going forward, And let's hope WWE can do the same, because this is a brilliant start to the year, and I cannot wait for Elimination Chamber. Just 2 weeks to go. It should be pretty good. I have been Freddie Thomas, you have been people listening. This has been the Royal Rumble 2017 review from the CC Network, and I will see you all next time. Cheers!